Before we get this started, let me explain it.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rahakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations unto the elect. News and prophecy, where we link the things happening worldwide to the Holy Scriptures, so that the faithful elect, the remnant of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, can know very well the times that they're in, all right, and understand that the words that are written in this book are faithful and true. As the scriptures say, wisdom and knowledge will be the stability of thy times. All right, and we're living in the age of chaos, where things are happening, which a lot of these things that are happening, all right, as you see in certain movies, like I believe it was the first Purge, I forget the name of it, where things weren't moving fast enough, and the elites, all right, ultimately paid people to go out, all right, and cause chaos, anarchy, and this gave them the ability to move on the people, because we know, pursuant to what's written in the Georgia Guidestones, which was struck down during the time of the COVID, that they want humanity to be narrowed down to about 500 million. So that means they're going to bring, mass death. And how does the scriptures describe this happening? Well, let's get it here in the book of Revelation, the 6th chapter. As we're going to get into a few things that are happening. I got a few videos, a few articles. It's a lot happening. There's so much happening that it's only so much we can cover in one lesson. But the goal is that you brothers and sisters are edified, built up in the faith. All right. Knowing the times that we are in. All right. This is the book of Revelation, the 6th chapter in the 8th verse. And it says, and I looked and I beheld a pale horse, which symbolizes death. All right. And his name that sat on him was Death. And this is what Esau, Edom has brought. He took peace from the earth. There's war everywhere. There's chaos everywhere. Disagreements everywhere. The food is fake. The people, minds are just absolutely destroyed. Okay. People's concept of God is all, misconstrued. Even the people that say they believe, all right, the image of the beast has a grip on their minds to where they can't fully get the understanding. And there's no fear of the Lord in this place. Okay. But the remnant of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, all right, just as Noah would have grace, you see, and ultimately offer up a sacrifice that's pleasing to be covered from these things. And this is what we're hoping for. It says, and hail followed him. All right. His name that sat on him was Death, and hail followed him, as it says in the book of Habakkuk, 2nd chapter, real quick. Habakkuk chapter 2 and 5. I'll start at 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. See, and this is how the just are going to have to live, because this man, pursuing the end time prophecy, will operate in a very, very uncouth, demonic manner. And the way that he's bringing it about is full of deception, to where, all right, as the scriptures say, as a matter of fact, one more scripture, I believe it's in the book of Mark. Boom. This is Matthew 24 and 24. It says, and there shall arise false messiahs, or anointed. And when we read Revelation, the 13th chapter, we know the two horns like a lamb present themselves as messiahs. When you look at the Democratic and Republican, systems, they have presented themselves as messiahs. When you look at the MOTB, when you look at everything that they're setting up, they're setting up a play where they are going to be able to intervene as the saviors of the mess that they made. But in the grand scheme of things, they're bringing a sword, and they're bringing about the MOTB system, mass surveillance. So he's setting himself up. It's not just your TD Jakes that's false anointed, because this word Christos or Christ, let's get it real quick. This word Christ, as you get it here.
Strong's G 5580. Pseudochristos. Pseudochristos.
Pseudo Christ. See that? Pseudo Christ. A pseudo Christ. Now, what is pseudo? Okay. Pseudes. And this is where we get the term pseudoscience that rules this world. Lying, deceit, false. Okay. And yeah, a lie, basically. Okay. And it says, pseudo Christos. All right. Christos is anointed. All right. So again, when you look at the pseudo anointeds or anointed ones that are presenting themselves in these latter days, you just think of a screaming pastor, or, Joel Osteen, TD Jakes, Creflo Dollar, Benny Hinn, and whatever their names are. It also goes into the powers that be and the system that they're setting up. They're setting themselves up to be saviors. Okay, again, real quick, let's get Revelation, the 13th chapter, and we'll get those scriptures as well. But Revelation 13 and 11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. His democratic and republican system, the revival of Rome, which is fulfilled in America. Again, when you look up this word horns, okay, Kiros, horn, all right, a symbol of strength, but as you can see here, a mighty and valiant helper, the author of deliverance of the Messiah. So Esau, all right, as we're going to show you, he has the ability to bring chaos, use his media to manipulate the minds, and then justify bringing an order. And what order is he trying to bring? All right, that's what we're going to show you. Surveillance, and ultimately the MOTB, which is the mark of the beast. Now it says here in Matthew 24 and 24, for there shall arise false anointed ones, pseudo messiahs, and false prophets. You also have the false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. All right. And we're living in an age where artificial intelligence, okay, has the ability to create a literal scene to where if you look at it, you will believe that it's the very truth. All right. They're going to do these things against the prophets. All right. You're going to start to see, all right, images of the prophets pop up doing things that are conducive to terror, and many of you are going to believe it. Okay. But again, only the elect are going to stand firm. This is why the blood of Yahweh Shai is very important to lean on in these times, because this man is getting ready to come, all right, with some lying wonders like never before. But again, Habakkuk 2 and 4, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. He wants all people under his control, so that he can, implement this system, this digital grid, which is fulfilled in the modern day Tower of Babel. All right, where he's going to surveil everyone. All right, and act as God. Okay, ration out food, track, the people's carbon footprint in the earth. And he can't do that, right, with so many people on the earth. So he has a plan, as we're reading in Revelation, the 6th chapter. He has a plan to hoard all of the resources to himself, cause complete chaos and anarchy. all right, and bring about, many false flags to scare the people into submission. And when you look up, don't forget he's hoarded all of the resources of the earth to himself. He's bought up all of the farmland. All right, so a blackout event or whatever, when the lights come back on, you will be subject to what he wants you to do if you want to live, and he's going to say you have to come through this system. You have to merge yourself with machine, but by that time, a lot of people will have went back to the spirit world through this very event right here in Revelation 6 and 8. And I looked, and I beheld a pale horse, and he that sat on him was death, and the name of him that sat on him was death, and hell followed with him. All right, hell is a condition on earth. All right, he brought death everywhere. Look at everything he brings about. It equals death, and power was given unto him over the fourth part of the earth. All right, and when you go to the fourth part of the earth, all right, even at the time of Columbus, the New World was known as the fourth, all right, part of the earth. Okay, and it's going to go down here. All right, it's going to go down worldwide, but here is the focal point of prophecy. It says to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and with the beast of the earth. All right, so he has a plan. All right, and if you're watching everything that's happening throughout the four corners of the earth, you should clearly see that the man of sin is being revealed. Okay, and we'll get to that, but we're going to get into a few things that are happening. We'll start here with this video. As you can see, this is off of the brother Arya Chayal Ba. Subscribe. All right, and as you can see, it says, yo, check this out. Okay, so what we see happening right now, all right, is clearly orchestrated chaos. All right, where you have you have people popping up with all of these flags. All right, and you got brothers that live in these areas, and it's only certain small areas where things are going down. But as we're going to show you, a lot of these people are paid agents. Okay, because the so-called white man, he has only a short time, as we always read in Revelation, the 12th chapter, to go ahead and establish the order he wants. All right, but he needs chaos to justify establishing it. And again, let's not forget that America stands in the way of what the New World Order stands for. America was based upon your civil liberties, your freedoms, your the so-called Constitution, your Bill of Rights. Okay, which they've chipped away at it through false flags over the years. 911 is an example. Okay, and they're only going to go further. Remember what Klaus Schwab said at the World Economic Forum meeting. Okay, we need an angrier world. China is the model for the world we want. And you go to China, you don't see people protesting. You don't see people online speaking against the government. You don't see people with freedom to do what they want. You see a social credit score. Okay, if your social credit score is not up to par, okay, you don't have access to certain things. See? And again, they want that very system here. Well, how are they going to bring that system here when people are so used to all these liberties to gather abroad and do as they will? Well, it's going to take brutal force, and they're setting up the necessary system to justify it. Okay, bringing in surveillance and draconian measures. Remember in Revelation, the 13th chapter, he spake as a lamb, right? Two horns, and he spake as they came as a lamb, docile, loving. All right, but he spake as a dragon. All right, we're in this phase of him speaking as a dragon.
We're in the Bolshevik War right now, bro. And right now what's coming up is all the pride stuff is going to be, okay, so I had this woman come on my podcast, her name's Mel K. She goes, I've been talking to some people in the intelligence, and they go.
So, and he said this in 2023. All right, and here we go.
This gay pride stuff is going away. And the next thing you're going to see are immigration riots. This is going to be right around the next election. So hand to God, we do this episode. Next day, Starbucks is like, we're banning all the pride stuff. And now you start seeing these, they're putting little breadcrumbs out, man. Little breadcrumbs. Oh, I saw this one thing in Chicago. Oh, yeah, illegal immigrants are upset about where they're staying. And these illegal immigrants who speak no English are holding up perfectly written English signs saying we're tired of how we're being treated. And now you're starting to see this over and over again. Eric, so everyone's always like when all these Republican governors are like sending these immigrants all over the country, everyone's like, yeah, you're showing those Democrats. Bro, they're moving assets. I know it sounds crazy, but that is 100
What do you
percent.
mean they're moving assets? What do you mean?
Dude, these guys coming into the country, bro, have you seen them? A lot of them are Chinese and a lot of them are military
Russians,
people.
yeah.
And I'm telling you, they're moving. And this is what's going to be right around 2024 election, immigration riots, people going nuts. And as listen to this, and you'll start seeing all the little breadcrumbs. I'm telling you, that's what they want you to think.
You're buying it. Oh, I thought
They're
you're
moving
the puppet.
assets, bro.
You're the puppet.
They're moving
What do you mean,
assets.
military people?
Dude, study the Bolshevik War. It is happening in real time.
Revolution?
100%.
But
I just wanted to get that out to everybody because I'm trying to warn people. This is what's next.
Oh, was all a part of the script? Watch what he picks up off the ground. All across the ground.
What?
Feel free to pause it. Feel free to pause. And then on top of that, someone filmed a couple pallets of cinder blocks right in front of the ICE facility.
This is the same thing that happened during the BLM riots. All right. And as we're going to show you, a lot of these people that are out here rioting are paid to do so. OK, this is a funded, orchestrated, chaotic event because, again, the Edomite is on his way out and he knows it. OK, so, again, in order to upset prophecy, all right, he has to come with his new world order, because if he's able to establish that micro C-hip, chip everybody, get all of the elect out of the earth, he wins. All right. But prophecy doesn't give him the victory. And again, this is why you have CERN, all of these various different organizations. All right. The Space Force. OK, the golden what's the thing Trump is boasting in? The Golden Dome. OK, they know. All right. That what prophecy says. They're listening to the prophets. They know exactly where they are, and they know they only have but a short time. So they have to what? All right. Set up these events to go ahead and justify the order. And we're going to show you what exactly the order is and why these demonic people are up to no good. Again, when you're let's get 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, which is the prophets, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. See that? And when you go to that word lying, we always show you it's that very pseudos. Okay. Lying wonders, pseudos. Okay. So even when we go into prophecy, all right, 2nd Esdras chapter 9 and 1. All right. As a matter of fact, I'll just go to the third verse. It says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou understand well that the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. OK, so a lot of the prophecies are coming to pass, but we also have to keep in mind that a lot of the things that even the earthquakes, they have the ability to bring about a earthquake or engineer a tornado with the power given unto them on the left hand side through Satan. And it's true power. OK, they can also orchestrate events and rebellions and use their media. All right, to give people the perception. This is how they justify going to war all the time, through media. False flag events. So we gotta understand what we're dealing with here. OK, this is the man of sin being revealed, and many are going to be deceived by a lot of the propaganda that he puts out there. OK, let's move to the next video. All right, I didn't know what this letter said. Okay. Because they're planning a rebellion on the 14th, which just so happens to be Donald Trump's birthday. Okay, prepare for tear gas, hide your identity. Interesting times, but we'll get into that. Don't get caught. All right. But let's show you a few things here. Check this out.
I just got offered $200 a day to go protest ICE in New York. The organization was called No Kings. They said June 14th, we're going to be protesting, and these are the streets that you need to be on, and this is what.
Now, again, you take some of this with a grain of salt, but we know how the devil gets down. Okay, let's not. It came out how BLM riots were funded by this devil Soros. Okay. So what do you think they're doing now? You think all of a sudden this man is not right? Again, mischief is at the forefront of how he's going to move and operate. He's always done it. How much more at the very end of his age? He's the accuser of the brethren. Okay, pursuant to Revelation, the 12th chapter. All right, so accusing you and accusations is at the forefront of how he's going to move. All right, getting to the end of his world, man. Okay.
What you need to do, you need to cause chaotic disruptions, and they said that there's going to be pallets of like bricks and different things everywhere that protesters could use. They really want to wreak havoc. It's kind of ridiculous. Me as an American, although I need the money, I'm like, this is very, very unpatriotic. If I was to go take this money and go protest, it's not very American. It's not what I stand for. It's obviously not even, worth the time.
And they put this in movies. Again, I forget the name of it. I believe it was called The First Purge. Okay? Check that out. Okay?
$200 a day is what they're paying people to go protest. The corruption is up here because it goes way beyond these organizations. They want to destroy America, and people like me
they want to do away with your rights, your Constitution, and what America and its liberty stood for, because it's in the way of the globalist agenda. Now, Trump came in with this hoorah and hoopla about, a nationalist ideology. Again, that's the two horns as a lamb. You had the nationalist agenda versus the globalist agenda. The left, all right, with the globalist agenda with Biden, the right with the nationalist agenda with Trump. But now you're starting to see that both pretty much, again, as we always tell you, it's the same eagle, two wings, taking you to the same destination. All of a sudden, all right, as we're going to show you, the very things that the likes of Alex Jones and the Trumpsters were against under the Biden administration, they're now justifying, all right, surveillance, AI, all of that. They're now justifying it, but we'll get to that. Let's just get a few of these videos out of the way.
That need money are gonna go do it. I'm not gonna go do it, but people are gonna go do it. They're gonna go destroy, the city and cause chaos. It's just crazy that, they're even paying people to go do this. It just goes to show that everything we deal with is corruption, and these people at the top level, like, who's paying for this? There's got to be some billionaires paying for this so that, they could try to get Trump out or something. But, $200 a day to go cause chaos is like crazy. Not worth it, but also like really fucked up.
And Trump is a part of it. Okay. And this is what all of these people, this is what all of them are getting ready to see. The likes of him, Anton Daniels, this proud guy. Okay. But again, it's coming out that they're paying people to go and riot. This is nothing new. Okay. Let's go here. Arrows of Indignation. All right. 144. All right. Subscribe. Always good videos. Get here.
The troublemakers, I believe many of them are paid. Agitators, the troublemakers, I believe many of them are paid.
We have some breaking news.
And again, this is the Hegelian dialect. All right, problem, reaction, solution. Okay, he's telling you that they're paid. They know what's going on. Okay.
Guys, as history repeats itself, we obviously know that any of these writers, these protesters, never comes out organically, okay? It is always paid protesters and writers, and we were absolutely right once again. 2 days ago, I went looking for Craigslist ad. I could not find it because usually they put it under peaceful protest. Well, this time they had it under disguise as general labor. They were looking for construction guys to build a building, apparently, but Right Angle News was able to find it, and this is what the ad says. Let's get into it. The ad is, again, disguised under general labor. They are looking for the toughest badass in Los Angeles camp. They are seeking extremely tough, brave men for new crew in building. Compensation starts at $6,500 to $12,500 per week. We are forming a select team of the toughest dudes in the area. The unit will be activated only when the situation demands it, but you get paid every week no matter what. High pressure, high risk, no room for hesitation. What's even more wild is that Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, went on CNN to say this.
Last night, I will tell you that it is peaceful now, but we do not know where and when the next raids will be. That is the concern, because people in the city have a rapid response network. If they see ICE, they go out and they protest.
So, Mayor Karen Bass is essentially confirming that there is a rapid response team, and this is it. Let's continue with the ad. The ad continues to say we need individuals who do not break, panic, or fold under stress, and are basically all-around kick-ass dude. Physical strength, speed, conditioning is important, but mental toughness is everything. If you're not the biggest guy in the room, but you're the one people follow when things go bad, that's who we're looking for. We are recruiting those who are already hard, badasses, and ready for confrontation when necessary. However, we can train you if necessary. What we are looking for, mental toughness. You keep a level head under pressure. You don't panic. Bravery. You face danger head on. You don't hesitate. Now, this is just not happening in the state of California. It is actually happening in Texas, too. Here's another ad. So here's the ad that is in Craigslist for the city of Austin, Texas. Now, we know that there's another protesting happening in Tampa, Florida. So if you guys should go and find one, post it up, let DOJ know, tag the appropriate people, because we know.
There we go. So it's mischief. And again, the way that they plan it is, again, the problem that was created by the left, letting all of these. Now, even in that dude, Anton, he says something in that video. You just have to look it up and watch it, because I don't have time to play every video because I got a lot of stuff. But why would you allow all of these immigrants to flood into your country? All right. They have border policies in the majority of countries, but here in America, you just allow all of these people to flood in. Now Trump is coming to fix the mess. Again, Revelation 13:11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, his left-right paradigm. This bipartisan system, which again is the 2-headed snake. Okay. And really, like I said in Tuesday's live, a lot of the laws that are being passed, all right, by each of these administrations are bipartisan. They actually agree on a whole hell of a lot. All right. But again, it's deception in how they present it to the people to give you a false sense of hope, choice. All right. A leader, a savior. All right. But the whole thing is leading you towards the NWO beast system, man. All right. So America completes the revival of the Western Roman Empire, man. Okay. From the Renaissance till now. OK, they have completed their plan, and now they're honing in on world domination and Godhead on earth via, all right, a technocracy, as we're going to show you, MOTB. But he had 2 horns like a lamb. He came subtle and as if he, was caring and loving, but he spake as a dragon. All right. And we know the dragon speaks to draconian measures. And the dragon in this chapter speaks to, all right, the ancient Western Roman Empire, the red dragon that's talked about in the previous chapter. And Rome was known for kicking people out of their kingdom, passing laws and legislation based upon your thought, your religion. All right. You were put to death on spot or kicked out of their kingdom. Well, again, as it's saying here, he's getting ready to exercise all that power. And America itself is rooted in the ancient Western Roman Empire, thought, law, energy, vibration. This is how the image of the beast speaks today. Okay, so let's go back. All right, let's get this video here. I just want to get a few videos, and I'm going to get some other ones, and then we'll close out. Okay, but again, what is this? All of this happening is leading to what now? Okay. Give me 1 second here. All right. Now they have a curfew, as we'll show you. See? Order out of chaos. Okay. And then you have Ron DeSantis. All right. Listen to what he said.
And we also have a policy that if you're driving on one of those streets and a mob comes and surrounds your vehicle and threatens you, you have a right to flee for your safety. And so if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you. You don't have to sit there and just be a sitting duck and let the mob grab you out of your car and drag you through the streets. You have a right to defend yourself. And
all right. And how much more the troops that they send? They're going to have the right, all right, to shoot on sight. See? Pretty soon the Israelites ain't going to be out on the streets anymore. This is what all of this is ultimately leading to, the ability to shut down any speech that goes against their narrative. It's very crafty. It's very deceptive. All right. Again, as we always get in Psalms 94 and 20, because what's going to come from this is the ability to pass laws and legislation centered around, all right, Xing out free speech. Okay. Xing out anything that goes against what they want. And this is what Trump, all right, pretty much is reestablishing. All right. Edomite. All right. The Edomite power structure. They know that they're outmanned. They're outnumbered. Okay. So when it's this whole Make America Great Again thing is really centered around making Esau great again, but not you everyday Edomites. You're even going to lose out in the grand scheme of things. The elites from 2020 till now, even before that, but from 2020, what happened? There was a power grab. The rich got richer, the poor got poorer, and all of you people do is sit and argue back and forth. Meanwhile, your rights are being snatched away. All right. You don't have control over your food. The farms are getting shut down. OK, these people are hijacking, and the presidencies are bought out by the elites, which, as we're going to show you, it's based on tyranny. Your state isn't even making or passing the laws that are governing the world now. It's the elites, these technocrats. Okay, when soon as Trump got elected, who was there with him? Technocrats, transhumanists, AI guys. Elon Musk popped up. What do you think is happening? Psalms 94 and 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood. See, this is ultimately what they're getting ready to do. Okay. Again, they want upright conversation out of the earth. Let's get that. Psalms 37 and 14. The wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy and to slay such as be of upright conversation. This is going to give them the ability to wage war, as they always wanted to do. They know who we are. They know where the truth is, but they know also that they can't just run up on us like that. So they have to create a narrative. They have to be able to, point the finger. They have to, set up situations. They're going to use their AI. They're going to use deception to accuse and justify it. All right. But the blood of Yahweh Shai covers the elect. So ultimately, there is no condemnation to the elect. We just have to continue to walk in faith, man. So they're gathering themselves against the soul of the righteous, man. Okay, they're trying to frame mischief by a law, and the Lord is going to be our defense. You see that? In our refuge, and he shall bring upon them their own iniquity and shall cut them off in their own wickedness, man, because ultimately what they're trying to do, all right, is very, very wicked, man. These are some wicked people, man. And our people are still sitting up here, laying around here, voting for these people, crying to them. And you forgot about the Lord. You got the tribes warring against one another, when the whole time it's a ploy and a plot by your enemy. The scriptures told you to never trust your enemy. Okay? But y'all are going to see. All right. Psalms 58:2. Yea, in heart you work wickedness, ye weigh the violence of your hand in the earth, man. That's Esau, man. All right. Isaiah 10:1. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. So they've wrote these things down. All they need is the necessary crisis to take place on earth so that they can justify bringing about the order that they want. Okay. Let's go here. Okay.
So I'm just curious, does anybody remember this video that I put out last year warning about this?
And you can see the page. You want to look these videos up, go ahead, okay? Because I'm not going to be able to play all of it.
Year? Well, you may want to pay attention now.
There they are, the National Guard, the Trump administration making good on its promise to send 2,000 National Guard troops into LA after a second day of protests and clashes with federal.
And it's not only LA where they're sending these troops. Okay? There's another one I had. Even in Texas. Let's see if I thought I had to be. I'll bring it up. Even in Texas. As a matter of fact, real quick, I'll do it like this.
Governor Greg Abbott is deploying about 5,000 National Guard troops across Texas ahead of anti-Trump and anti-ICE protests planned for this coming weekend. Dozens are scheduled from big cities to little towns across the Lone Star State. Fox 4 Stephen Dial is live right now with a look at how some law enforcement preparations are going. Hi, Stephen.
Casey, Governor Abbott is taking a page from the Trump playbook by deploying National Guard troops. Abbott says it's preparing for possible violence. Critics say it's political posturing.
So, brothers, be careful, be mindful. Yeah, tomorrow is Friday the 13th, when we go out. But again, you have certain people who are at these protests who are sincerely protesting and, which at the end of the day, but then also you're going to have people who are paid to go out there and stir things up. This is how the devil operates, man. This is why it doesn't make sense to go around these goddamn protests, man. But we've been warning, Jake. Okay?
Protesters took to the streets Monday night in Dallas to oppose the immigration enforcement tactics of the Trump administration. While mostly peaceful, police were hit with water bottles and fireworks by some protesters. One was arrested.
Now, what is Eve doing? Is that Eve?
And fireworks.
Take your ass home. Ass crack all in the camera.
Police were hit with water bottles and fireworks by some protesters. One was arrested. Wednesday night, San Antonio saw a similar large protest with no major.
And if you notice, the new face of terror is the so-called black, so-called Hispanic. Okay?
Incidents. With dozens of protests scheduled across Texas on Saturday, Governor Abbott is moving thousands of National Guard troops into position.
It does not do any good to have the National Guard not deployed and have a city catch on fire, have crime and chaos break out, and take a day or two to get in there.
Abbott went on Fox News to defend his decision Thursday. In addition to 5,000 National Guard troops, Abbott is also dispatching 2,000 DPS troopers across the state. As for the timing of the upcoming protests, Saturday is President Trump's 79th birthday.
There you go, 79th birthday. I mean, it's a lot happening.
It is also the Army's 250th anniversary.
250. Now, how long do empires usually last? Okay. Let's look it up. How long? About how long? Let's see. Boom. The lifespan of empires varies greatly, but some studies suggest an average of 250 years. And America is coming up on its 250th year. All right. As a matter of fact, how long has America, to be sure, I believe like 240, 230 something. How long has America been an empire? Come on now. Yeah, it's coming up on 250 years, right? Been in power, okay? Just answer the goddamn question. Shit. Do I gotta go to chat? Goodness gracious. Let's just bring this up, man. God damn. It depends. Duration 249 years as of 2025. That's all I need. Shit.
With a military parade scheduled in Washington, D.C. The anti-Trump rallies, 8 of them in North Texas, are dubbed the No Kings Movement.
People are free to protest if they don't harm anything. However, because of the possibility, because the size of the crowds could grow large, because things could get out of control, we want to make sure that we have the assets in place where we're going to be able to quickly respond.
So be mindful. Be mindful where you go. Don't just be out wiggling around. Be mindful. If anything, sit your ass down. All right? But hey, as the elder Amawan Gabar said, the prophets are sitting back now and watching the words through the spirit that we've spoke come to pass. Now I want to go here.
So I'm just curious, does anybody remember this video that I put out last year, warning about this year? Well, you may want to pay attention now.
There they are, the National Guard, the Trump administration making good on its promise to send 2,000 National Guard troops into LA after a second day of protests and clashes with federal agents during immigration raids that started on Friday. There they are here, and we believe they're moving throughout the city and to areas that experienced unrest during those raids. Now, the move marks a major escalation in Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration. Mayor Karen Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom both speaking out, saying this is unnecessary and will only escalate tension.
And remember, there's all kind of illegal immigrants over here. But who's the focus? All right.
Newsom also saying local law enforcement is already mobilized and there is no need for this extra support.
I mean, and I consider myself a spiritual man. It just looks fake. Okay? But I speak as a man. And don't forget, we're living in an age of AI too. Okay? The AI looks, they can create, something like, they're not saying this is not real, but they can create this via AI and put it on the news. I wouldn't put it past them that a lot of the stuff we've been seeing, even the arguments between Trump and certain, it's a lot of it is AI. Okay. Now they're able to show this, okay, but through this, they're going to be able to implement martial law and wage war on people. Okay. And set up AR surveillance, okay, all throughout the states in America, man. The cities, policing people on a level that you haven't seen before. Again, they want a China-like environment here in America.
The streets are calm here in Los Angeles near the federal detention center.
We got brothers that live down there. They say these things have just taken place in small parts of downtown. Okay, but then they're able to put that on the camera, and that makes it the overall of what's happening. And now people are crying. People are like, yeah, get them. Send the troops. Okay, and you so-called blacks, all right, well, and it's good. Yeah, the Northern Kingdom did need a foot in the ass, but you so-called blacks, you Southern Kingdom, you just wait. You think this stops there with them? No, it's going to continue. They're going to wage war on you too. Remember, Trump said his own citizens won't have due process, man. Okay, if you're against their kingdom, if you got an opinion against their kingdom, they want all opposition out of their empire, just like ancient Rome did. Okay.
Which was the focus of a lot of this weekend's activity. On Sunday, this is where we saw mass protests as well as clashes with law enforcement. Protests rocked the Los Angeles area over the weekend in response to the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. Dozens of people have been arrested as law enforcement says the protests have turned violent. Vehicles were set on fire, and law enforcement used flashbangs and tear gas to break up the crowds.
Last night was probably one of the most volatile nights that we had in the city of Los Angeles.
President Donald Trump deployed hundreds of National Guard troops, which he said was to protect federal personnel and property, despite no calls for them from California Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass.
What was the reason that the president had to take the power from the governor and federalize the National Guard?
There you go. He took power from the governor. These states ain't passing these laws. Okay, and him and Newsom are going back and forth. You got Egyptian versus Egyptian, but again, it's all a show. But this is where it's going to go. All right. I got another video I want to show you that kind of speaks to that. Okay.
Newsom is now threatening to sue the Trump administration over the move. Authorities have declared all of downtown Los Angeles an unlawful assembly area. President Trump addressing the unrest from outside the White House.
The people that are causing the problem are professional agitators. They're insurrectionists. They're bad people. They should be in jail.
The National Guard is
He's telling you they're professional insurrectionists. Who's paying them? How do you become a professional insurrectionist? Okay, because the average American people really ain't, they're too docile. They're too beat down to really, go out into the streets and wage war like that. So the powers that be are going to force it. Okay, generations, Gen Z, they crazy. They go be out in the streets. But the average American just wants peace, some money and a sandwich. Okay, the average American just wants to protest, walk in circles, yell no justice, no peace, but they ain't going to do nothing. But we're living in a time where the Lord is putting the spirit out there. And again, you do have some people that are really out there doing evil, but the mass majority of this is orchestrated. Okay, you can clearly see it by looking at it. And again, the power of the medium. It's an intercessor. Okay, there's power in this. This is a lot of witchcraft going on. Okay, and that's exactly what Isaiah the 47th chapter describes, man. He's going to try to use witchcraft, all right, and enchantments, all right, to get the victory. Because they want to bring an order. They want to collapse this system as we know it. Okay, they want to do away with paper money. You see banks disappearing. AI talk now. Okay.
Aging in at least 3 locations across LA, including the Metropolitan Detention Center, where Democratic Congresswoman Maxine Waters was denied entry Sunday.
This is madness.
And so I didn't have an opportunity to talk with anybody.
And throughout the day, we've seen a steady and visible law enforcement presence. We've also seen over the last hour
America, this is a mess.
or so some of those officers start to bring out some of that riot gear, the helmets, the batons, as we are expecting. You can see some protesters right now. We're expecting more rallies and more protests as we head into the evening hours here in LA. Reporting in Los Angeles, I'm Michael Yoshida.
So you're probably thinking to yourself, well, we're all set. Trump sent in the United States Marines. The United States Marines are operating on American soil right now due to insurrectionists. But here's the deal. This isn't over. This is going to spread absolutely everywhere because that's the plan. Okay? This isn't organic. This is exactly like the BLM rioting all over the country during the lockdowns. Do you recall? Yeah. Well, how do I know? Let me show you.
I'm going to do this and then I'm going to go make strawberry scones. But when we talked about how this thing that was going on in Los Angeles was paid agitators, this is what I meant. I remember back when the Black Lives Matter riots were happening as well, they had very similar Craigslist ads looking for the toughest badasses in the city of Los Angeles, seeking extremely tough, brave men for a new crew on building. Compensation is $6,500 to $125,000 per week. Get paid every week, no matter what. Physical strength needed, mental toughness, ready for confrontation when necessary. However, we train you if necessary. Bravery, reliability, strength, team discipline. They'd like you to have military experience, but if you're a Marine, then they do not want you in their group because it's apparently a long story. Job title is listed as operator, and there's no experience required, and it's contracted work. They were looking in the greater Los Angeles area. Obviously, they're not going to tell you exactly what it's for. Wait for you to call and then explain. This is what happened during the Black Lives Matter riots, is they would put out these Craigslist ads, and then all these people would call, and then they would recruit all these people to go be agitators at these events. They would turn what was initially a peaceful protest of just marching into a full-blown riot, and that's the very same thing that's happening here. Who can afford that kind of bankroll? Well, NoKings.org can. Apparently, this whole thing has been planned for a really long time. They're trying to get more in different days on different states. Specifically, June 14th seems to be a pretty big hot button. They're looking at Phoenix, Atlanta, and a handful of other major cities. You can go to the map on the website and just take a look. Here's some of the organizations that they're working with, and there's a lot of them, but I'm going to go through a couple. There's Ben the Ark, which is Jewish Action. Bernie Sanders, which I I don't know. Americans United, Blue Anchor, Cast, Demlist, Families Over Billionaires, Faithful America, Fair Share America, Face the Music, Federal Workers Against Doge, Fund, Federal Unionist Network, The Feminist Majority, Bulletproof Pride, Catholics Vote, Common Good, Care in Action, Center for Common Ground. I mean, there's tons of them. That's who's paying for it. This has been in the works for a really long time. That should be really nothing new to you. But here's what I will say, okay, with all the paid agitators and all the things going on, there are going to be very real people who believe this is a very real march for justice that are going to be boots on the ground down there thinking that they're doing something. So if you, your family, your friends are thinking about getting together and heading down there and sticking it to the man, don't. Because all of those paid agitators, they have protection, right? They'll get lawyers, they'll get bailed out of jail. But guess who won't? You won't. You will not. You will be left on your own. You're still hoping you learned the first time with the BLM stuff. Don't do it.
All major cities all over the United States, they've already got one of these planned down in Kentucky for the 14th of this month. This is going to continue. This is how you take a country down. And that's exactly what's happening. And it should be very obvious for you to see. People that don't live in LA don't think this is going to go any place past LA, but sadly, that's not the case. This will continue all over the place. And you've got representatives of the United States government literally facilitating this. People like Maxine Waters, for instance.
Stop here, where the guns are.
And this nigga is never gonna die. See, your auntie, she'll die. You know, but Oprah, her, like, they just never, they're just gonna take the missiles like the Lord. the Lord gonna have to send the missiles on these niggas, man. And it's the same playbook. Again, leading you into that burning house, that civil rights madness. Okay?
I want y'all to take a piece of these guns and let people know that they're in our city with guns, and I'm sure they have orders to shoot and kill. I don't know, but otherwise,
Shouldn't she be somewhere protected in the house?
One question, Representative Waters. If there's one statement that you call a message that you can send to Donald Trump, what is that message here today?
my message to Donald Trump is you are a cruel human being, and that you're using the poorest people in the land, the most vulnerable people in the land, to promote your politics. You are wrong. We know what this is all about. We have people who are immigrants here who are trying to seek a better living, who come from places where they have experienced this kind of thing that he's doing here today. People who work every day, people who are paying taxes.
They're sending the Marines. Okay? Woo!
Understand that these are all paid protesters that have an agenda, and they don't even understand what it is they're trying to do. But what the end result will be is America will be in shambles. We've literally got the United States Marines rolling on the streets of America. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a bad thing. The Marines are not a police force. Do you see what I'm saying? And the fact that the protesters were somehow able to take out the police and make them null and void to the point where the National Guard wasn't even enough and they had to bring in the Marines, that's a bad day at the office. It's not looking too good for the old US of A. Do you see what I mean? This is going to get worse. You need to be prepared for this in every way humanly possible, because this is going to get ugly. If this is an anti-ICE thing, you're going to have operatives from Mexico making their way up here, because why not? Why not? Take down the great Satan while you can, right? America is a laughingstock right now, whether you know it or not. Not everybody else's country's government.
All right, so you can look at that. Let's go here. Let's check this one. I want to listen to him. Started around 7 minutes. Okay. ICE is the prototype for America's corporate police state.
Power index, the Middle Nation Relative Power Index on the U.S., and you will find that the public sector trends to subservience to private empires. That's textbook state capture. And I've been telling you that the military-industrial complex that used to feed itself by sowing chaos and sowing bloodshed overseas, but is now being overruled by the national OCGFC, who no longer want the global south to be destabilized by violence. They don't want it to be destabilized by horror anymore. I've been telling you that they're going to bring their operations home. Didn't I tell you that? Well, look at California right now. Look at Los Angeles. What else do you think that is besides violent colonization turning inward? You think this is about immigration law? You think ICE is enforcing laws? No. They are marauders, and you are the loot. ICE is not a law enforcement agency. It is a mercenary force under contract to private corporations, hunting human beings for profit. That's all it is. That's exactly what it is. They work for the private prison industry. Your so-called immigration department is just a subsidiary. It's an interface for the private prison industry. That's what it is. That's what you turned it into. These aren't arrests that they're making. These are profit-making activities that they're engaged in. Every detention is a paycheck. Every deportation is a dividend. Do you understand? They're not police. They're pirates. They're pillagers. This isn't policy. This is commerce. You're witnessing the logistics arm of what can only really be called an ethnic cleansing operation outsourced to the highest bidder. Yes, I said ethnic cleansing because do you really believe that this isn't racial? Do you really think that this has anything whatsoever to do with someone's immigration paperwork?
Remember, this is Esau. Okay? He's doing what he's always done. Okay? Especially when it comes to you tribes.
We know who they're targeting and we know why. And if you have any sense, you'll also understand that this practice is going to do nothing but expand, just like any business expands. That's what businesses do. It means they're going after immigrants now. This is a pilot project. They normalize it by targeting immigrants, but this is a profit-making endeavor. And you'd have to be crazy to think that they're not going to multiply their revenue streams by targeting other demographics. Non-citizens and citizens, so-called minorities, members of the global majority, the poor, the homeless, the protesters. This doesn't go anywhere but expansion. They've turned immigration enforcement into a business model. They turned
that upright conversation. They want to get it out of America.
They've turned immigration enforcement into a business model. They turned it into a supply chain. You've got militarized raids rounding up immigrants like livestock, funneling them into for-profit prisons, slapping electronic shackles on their ankles, and shipping them out on corporate charter flights like Amazon parcels. I mean, they literally said that. They literally said that they want to run deportations like Amazon Prime. That wasn't satire. That was the ICE director's actual analogy. And you know what? He wasn't inaccurate. He was being accurate. Does Amazon care what's in the box? No, neither does ICE. They don't care what's in the box. You're not a person, you're inventory. And you may think, well, I'm not undocumented, so this isn't my problem. Wrong. Because this isn't just about who's being deported. It's about why this is being done the way it's being done in the first place. It's about who's in line next time when the migrants are not enough to satisfy the profit potential of their model. You understand me? The infrastructure right now is being built today. The data surveillance, the AI-powered raids, the indefinite detention laws, the elimination of due process, the criminal.
Yep, the elimination of due process. Your President Trump. All right, the U.S. citizens will not have due process. Okay, the Patriot Act on steroids. Okay.
Of entire populations. This isn't going to stop with immigrants. You'd be crazy to think it is. Like I said, this is just a pilot project. It's going to be used on you. It's going to be used on your protesters. It's going to be used on your political dissidents. It's going to be used on whoever refuses to comply. It's a system of repression, not immigration. They're using wartime laws from 1798 to deport people without hearings.
Right, and when you get it, let's get Revelation 13 real quick. Revelation, the 13th chapter, and the 15th verse. And he had power to give life to the image of the beast, which that's the revival of Rome, America. And everywhere you look, really all of this goes back to Rome. You're witnessing Rome, all right, on steroids. More money, technology, the sword has been perfected. Okay. And they're colonizing. That's what Rome did. Okay. America is just finishing the job, but they have other plans of world domination. So he had power to give life to the image of the beast, which we have videos on this whole chapter, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And how is the image of the beast speaking? The New World Order, this wave, this government, all right, the idols, the Colosseum, this reeks of Rome, the infrastructure of your Senate buildings and your courthouses, okay, your Constitution, it's all rooted in ancient Rome, right? But it says as many as will not worship the image should be killed. Now, this word killed literally could be killed, all right? Like, poctaneo, all right? But it's also the root word, apo, of separation. You're going to be separated from this system. Yeah, they're going to pass laws to eventually, have you put to death, but there's going to be laws to get you out of their kingdom, departing, fleeing. Okay. Separation of a part or from whole, of any kind of separation of one thing from another, by which the union of fellowship of the two is destroyed. They're going to say you can't have fellowship with this system. Okay. And this is when the just is going to have to live by faith. State of separation, that is distance. We seen that with the doing the Ovid, the distance. You couldn't go in certain stores, right? Well, there's another demic coming. All right, and a lot of you get angry and tired of hearing these points and saying we're fearmonger. We're just speaking you the word. So again, if you don't worship his image, you're going to be separated, and then he's going to come with that mark. So the people who make it past, who bow to the image, all right, will be in line to get the charagma. But a lot of people are going to be offed in between those two. As a matter of fact, as the scriptures say, those that consent unto them shall be had in derision. Let's get that. Okay, as the scriptures say, never trust your enemy, man. Okay. And he's just getting started. But again, he knows that he has but a short time. 2nd Esdras 16 and 69. I started 68. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle, with things offered to idols. And they that consent unto them, so they're going to take you to these different camps. Okay. And if the Spirit of the Lord isn't with you, all right, you're going to give in. You're going to fold. The scriptures say they're going to cast some of you into prison. Remain faithful. Okay. Remember, the Lord is in control. But these things must be, and feed you, being idle, with things offered to idols. And a lot of you are idol shepherds. So you're going to pay for that. All right. It says, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden under foot. But see, the elect, although we're going to suffer some persecution, some of us, may have to be beheaded and go back to the spirit world. There's still a victory for us. And the Lord ain't going to have the elect to fold. The Lord ain't going to have the elect to be chipped. Okay. So, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and reproach and trodden under foot. Okay. So you may as well suffer for righteousness' sake. Okay. 2nd Esdras chapter 15 and 14. The world and the people in it are doomed. The war that will bring their destruction is very near. You see Israel with Iran. Again, that's going to draw America into a war. It may not happen right away, but it's going to happen. Nations will arm themselves and fight against other nations. There will be great political turmoil. We're witnessing that. With one group trying to overpower another and gain control. We're witnessing that while ignoring the legitimate government. It's going to be a crazy scene, man. Okay. And provocateurs will be a part of it. But when a lot of people really see what's going on, a lot of these, even Trump supporters, they're going to lose it and they're going to take to the streets, man. Okay. There will no longer be free access to the cities because of the struggle for power. All right. Because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live. Driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbor and mercilessly plunder their possessions. Okay. So again, these are the times that we are living in. Okay. Let's listen to some more of this guy, which he could be AI himself. Okay.
Wartime laws, what war? I don't see any war except for the one that the government itself is waging on their own population. And they're waging that on behalf of nothing but the private sector, on behalf of the empire of capital. Yes. Understand what I'm saying?
The elites.
Your country has been conquered. I don't know what you think I mean when I say that your country has been captured.
Yes, it's been conquered by the technocrats, the elites. Okay? That's who's bought out your elections, these lobbyists. All right, all signs point to the small hats, the Amalekites. Okay? The people, the you wish people. Those are the ones who ultimately are running things. And their interests are being fulfilled through everything you see happening, including the AI takeover, which is going to come from this to police your cities and bring tyranny and root out all opposition, man.
And your state has been captured. It's been conquered. It's been conquered by corporate power. Well, what does that make ICE? It's a colonial mercenary force, nothing, no more, no less. They don't protect communities. They invade communities and steal people. Where have we seen that before? I said they're marauders. This isn't law enforcement. I mean, let me say this with absolute clarity. The United States is in breach of international law. The UN has said it. Human rights experts have said it. Legal scholars have said it.
The United States and Israel are guilty of breaking international law, but nothing is going to be done. The judgment is going to have to come from on high for these people.
Deporting asylum seekers without hearings? Illegal. Sending people to third countries that don't recognize them? Illegal. Holding civil detainees in solitary confinement for weeks at a time? Illegal. Medically abusing female detainees with unnecessary surgeries. That's illegal, that's criminal, that's barbaric. ICE detention facilities are the new Guantanamos for the domestic empire. These are the Amazon warehouses of captured human beings. Corporate contractors like Geo Group, like Core Civic, they're making billions of dollars from these cages, from this trauma, from this misery, from this terror. This is modern slavery packaged as homeland security. Down home. Whatever you tolerate, you will eventually suffer. Colonization has come home. You built a system that feeds on people and forgot that you are people. America is coming apart at the seams. I mean, from a state stability perspective, these ICE for-profit raids signal nothing but erosion of that country. Think about it. You're using 18th century wartime statutes to justify modern deportations. This is a system that's reaching backwards into antiquated powers because it has no credible forward-looking authority left.
The Insurrection Act. All right. Trump is talking about reenacting. That goes back to the French. But they're getting they're going to ancient laws or the older laws to handle modern situations, man.
The expansion of for-profit detention centers and privatized deportation logistics. This shows you the hollowing out of the state, and that's a key marker of late-stage neoliberal decline. The state is no longer the enforcer of the law. Understand? It's the broker of violence outsourced to private capital. That parallels the historic decline of other empires that began to mercenize their security apparatuses, just like Rome did before the collapse.
Just like Rome did before the collapse. Okay, so we're going to have to look into that. Let's listen to him again. We're going to have to look into that.
Neoliberal decline. The state is no longer the enforcer of the law. Understand? It's the broker of violence outsourced to private capital. That parallels the historic decline of other empires that began to mercenize their security apparatuses, just like Rome did before the collapse. The state becomes just a brand, not a body politic. Deploying military forces domestically against low-risk civilian populations, let's be honest. Migrants, families, children, and so forth. That signals the...
But it's not low risk if you put the necessary players out there to do the things that will justify. See, this is where we are. Coming down with great wrath, with unrighteous decrees. Okay?
Securitization of social management. That's nothing but a hallmark of unstable regimes. It shows that the ruling class, as we all know, sees its own population, or anyway segments of its own population, as the primary threat. This also obviously deepens the fragmentation within your country. You know, sanctuary cities versus federal raids, state courts versus executive orders, DHS versus the public. All of the forces that hold the country together are fracturing. You know, when the United Nations human rights experts call the immigration policies in your country illegal, when you deport people to third countries without hearings, when your detention facilities are described in UN reports as sites of torture, sites of inhumane treatment, you've lost all normative power globally. Nobody respects you. Your whole brand is tarnished. The United States can never again call itself the beacon of liberty, except that everyone in the world will roll their eyes or they'll laugh at the sarcasm. It's increasingly seen as a rogue actor. It selectively adheres to international law only when it suits their own power, their own agenda. Well, that undermines even U.S. soft power, and it isolates America diplomatically, which you don't even think is that important, but that is a significant erosion of civilizational leadership. Then you have the rapid expansion of legal categories for exclusion, meaning if you belong to these categories, you have no legal rights, such as gang membership, undocumented status, or even just non-registration with the immigration authorities.
And that's going to trickle down to preachers. All right. 2nd Esdras 16 says what? Verse 70, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. Okay. This is what we're walking into Jacob's trouble. Okay. That's the only way out. Just like Yahweh Shai's sacrifice was the only way out, Jacob's trouble was the only way out, because that's where the Lord is going to deliver us out of it. Okay?
They're doing nothing but set up the architecture of authoritarian control. That's what they're doing. This is pre-fascist legal architecture that they're setting up. Once that system is normalized, and they've normalized extrajudicial detention, indefinite holding without trial, arbitrary deportations, well, they've got all the tools they need. And they can apply those then to journalists, to protesters, to union leaders, to political dissidents, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
There you go.
And they will be used that way. That's how authoritarian regimes consolidate power and control. Not by overnight coups, but by the slow normalization of what begins as exceptional measures. Because what did I just tell you? The private sector is authoritarian. And you all know it by your own work experience. The private sector is authoritarian. The private sector has now conquered and captured your government.
That's it.
So there's no way for your society to go now, except towards stricter and stricter authoritarianism. No, America is not stable. All of its coercive organs are being decoupled from law and being fused to profit. Its legitimacy is being replaced with impunity. Its population is being conditioned now to accept repression under the guise of emergency necessities for order. You know, from the perspective of the global South, from the perspective of the Muslim world, and from the
All right, so let's go here. Let's look at a little bit of a few more, and we'll close it out. But like you say, America's been bought out. There was a video where I had, boom, this is the one.
What do you think about the use of artificial intelligence?
You see the title of this, and I'll go into this one in I'm gonna do another news and prophecy, Lord willing, tomorrow or Saturday. But technocrats have taken control of the Trump administration. That's ultimately who's hijacked your elections and your America. Okay. And this is where it's going.
Or lavender by the IDF in identifying Hamas targets? And secondly, do you agree with Elon Musk about that the population decline is a risk for humanity?
And she asked about the use of AI and all that. Well, I'm going to do that in another one. Let's go here. But yeah, it's been bought out. This is from End Time Headlines. You know, now Christians are big into prophecy, going into, they even talk about the beast system now. They talk about the chip. You know, they're all in. All right, taking a play from the book of the Israelites. But all right, it still works in our favor. Let's listen to them. Organized chaos is spreading across America.
Very latest on those anti-ICE protests. Hi, Brooke. Hey guys, it was the fourth straight day of anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles as demonstrators are protesting against the Trump administration's immigration raids throughout the city. So at least 53 people have been arrested as violent protesters face off against police with flashbangs and rubber bullets flying. President Trump authorized an additional 2,000 National Guard members to help respond to the protests.
Okay, so we have 2,000 National Guard troops, and we have at least 700 Marines that all have been dispatched to Los Angeles, California.
California Governor Gavin Newsom says the move only creates more tension and unrest. The administration also deploying 700 active duty Marines because of the increased threats against federal buildings. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirming the deployment, saying, quote, "We have an obligation to defend federal law enforcement officers, even if Gavin Newsom will not." Newsom responding, saying the Secretary of Defense is illegally deploying them onto American streets so Trump can have a talking point at his parade this weekend. We will sue to stop this.
There you go. So then this is the Egyptian against Egyptian. Let's get Isaiah the 19th chapter. Isaiah 19 and Isaiah 19 and 2, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. Who's the modern day Egyptians? All right, the Edomites. And they shall fight everyone against his brother. and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. See that? And this is where we are. Everybody's divided here in Egypt. But as you jump to verse 4, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord. A fierce king shall rule over them. Okay. Let's get Isaiah 19 in the GNT. Let's see what that says. Let's see. Let's get it here. Let's do it like this. Isaiah 19:4, and I will hand the Egyptians over to a tyrant. A cruel king will rule them. A tyrant, basically. I, the Lord, have spoken, and this is where we are. All right. Nothing but division, man. Nothing but tyranny is coming down the pipe. And this is going to only escalate. Even if it kind of dies down, something else is coming. A blackout, a terror, something is coming. Trump told you another 9/11 type event is coming because of all of these migrants and immigrants we have over here.
California has already confirmed it will sue Trump over his decision to activate the National Guard. Trump and Newsom went back and forth all day long with.
So here we go again. Here we are as American citizens. If you're watching this outside of America, this is happening on our soil, so this is why we're talking about this. But here we go. We're stuck in the middle of a circus. This is a political circus.
And the Epstein list still ain't came out.
Left versus right, or at least that's what they want you to believe. When we know, come on guys, wake up. These are, I'd say the vast majority of these people, they just showed up overnight. These are paid actors, paid demonstrators. They are being, and I'm going to show you an article in just a moment. They're being supplied weapons. They're being supplied tools. They're being supplied materials. They're being supplied these flags that they can fly around. They're being supplied banners. They're being supplied all kinds of things. And this is just the beginning. We haven't even got to June 14th yet. In 4 days.
Americans can't even afford a goddamn sandwich. They going and buying all these flags. Where are you getting all of even the Palestinian flags? Where the hell are you getting all of these flags from?
This circus is going to go to a whole other level. And let's go to this video and I'll talk a little bit more about this.
The president even saying he would support arresting the California governor over obstructing ICE operations. Listen.
Gavin Newsom is daring Tom Homey to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
That don't even sound like Donald Trump. Kind of don't even look like. I mean, you know how these devils do. Listen to this guy. Wait, let me even just put it in regular speed because I got it a little sped up. Some of y'all be complaining. Well, hey, slow it down. You can slow it down to go to this button here. And you press it. You get subtitles. You can speed it up. You can slow it down. But let's listen to this guy. Well, hold on. Wait a minute. What the hell is going on here?
Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing. We've done a terrible job. Look. I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows.
Doesn't even sound like Trump.
Even he said it.
Attorney General Pam Bondi confirming the suspect accused of throwing rocks at a federal officer has been identified.
Look at this.
Bondi says he is now on the most wanted list and is considered a fugitive.
Why didn't he get arrested?
Has just been identified, and they are doing a search warrant on his house as we speak. So you can run, you can't hide. We are coming after you federally. If you assault a police officer, if you rob a store, if you loot, if you spit on a police officer, we're coming after you.
I mean, this is coming from the same individual that told us that all of these classified secrets were going to be made public and come to light. Where's that at?
Yeah.
Again,
where's the Epstein list? They did him and Elon threatening. Well, you own it. No, you own it, and it ain't never coming out. All right, but you can watch the rest of this video. There's one or two more I want to play, but listen to it.
Y'all can believe what you want. I'm telling you, this is theatrics at its greatest level. It's unbelievable. These people have lost all credibility with me. Let me pull this back. I'll go back to the video because I know some of y'all are like, "What are you talking about?" Well, let me elaborate a little bit more. See, this system wants you to believe that it's good versus evil, light versus darkness, left versus right. So let's play their stupid game for a minute, okay? Let's play their game, and let's blame the left. In the last 4 years of the Biden administration, we'll just go with this. We'll go with this script. The Biden administration allowed the floodgates to open.
Yep.
And all these illegals.
And they're listening to our talking points. But a lot of the Lord is putting the spirit on people to just see things. All right? Even heathen.
Chinese immigrants, illegals flooding in. We're talking about millions. Unregistered immigrants. We don't know where they are. We don't know where they've been. And now all of a sudden, we couldn't find them. But now they've exploded and propped up like cockroaches in the middle of the night. Oh well, there's thousands of them that just sprung up in Los Angeles. I heard a report say that there was over 1 million of these people, illegals, 1 million in California alone. Okay, so again, the right is full of fury and they're full of anger. And they're pointing their finger at Biden. They're pointing their finger at Obama. They're pointing their finger at the left because it's the left's fault. It's them. And the right is agging it on. This is all their fault. They let the borders open and they just... Now, am I saying that the borders were not open? Absolutely not. They absolutely were left wide open. These people did pour into the country. These people did come in here illegally. These people are all across the nation. And I will take it even a step further and say to you that this has opened the door for sleeper cells, whether it be Iranian, whether it be Chinese, whether it be whatever you want to pick.
Right, but the eye is on the northern tribes. Okay? That's the theme of it, but you got to understand there's so-called African migrants, there's, again, Elamites, okay? All kind of people over here, all kind of nations over here. Chinese buying up land.
They're here. They're on our soil. They're waiting patiently. Now, some would say, well, here they are. They're springing action. Now, what if I came by and wrecked your whole hypothesis and brought this aspect out? I told you that if this is the left wing and the right wing of the same bird,
they're definitely listening to the prophets.
Organization, the puppet master who is pulling the strings and calling the shots of this thing, determines who and what party is going to win what election in order to carry out and further their agenda. Okay? So if the last 4 years under Biden, because again, now I know all you people that think
he's just explaining two horns like a lamb and speaking as a dragon. We broke that down. Now I want to go to this one and I'll close it out.
We do begin tonight with Los Angeles bracing tonight after sweeping immigration raids sparked protests and clashes tonight. A U.S. official now confirming to ABC News 700 Marines are now on their way to Los Angeles to join California's National Guard, which was deployed by the president, not that state's governor. Late this afternoon, a peaceful protest after the arrest of the union leader, but the city is bracing for nightfall. It sidestepped California authoritarianism.
Just moments ago, there's some projectiles being thrown. Just moments ago, a motorcycle seemed to try to break through the police skirmish line.
Everybody out there, especially people who listen to this channel, should know that these are government-sponsored events. Human beings are not naturally organizing without the government intervening and stopping it beforehand, unless the government is actually responsible for any of the riots and chaos that occurs. So in other words, if all of us got together and we all talked about doing an actual riot and actually protesting and going somewhere like the White House, before we even arrive, the government would be at our front door, because we know through the NSA and through technology, they're listening and monitoring all of us and tracking all of us. An event like this could not naturally occur unless, of course, the government wanted it to occur. And as you've heard, the National Guard, the Marines have been deployed, and you see the confrontations in the streets between ICE agents and Mexicans or people who are dressed, obviously hiding who they actually are by design, wearing masks. Pretty much what we saw during the Black Lives Matters movement, which was clearly another government operation, which they even eventually exposed that it was a government operation. And still people think that these things are naturally occurring. And now, since these things have started, these riots have started in LA, what we're hearing about is what powers does Trump have to send troops to cities even if they don't want them? Because if you haven't seen, there's a map out there where there's planned events to occur on June 14th. So you're telling me that this map that is out there, that somebody, where did the government and the media get this map? This is one gigantic organization that they're telling us has been communicating, pinpointing locations, and now they're showing us where all of these false flag events are going to occur on June 14th. And they were able to figure out exactly what locations and eventually who are going to be the attendees at these locations, because this is all about Palantir. And I'll get into that in a few minutes. But look at this map.
And we'll get into Palantir in the next video. AI surveillance is going to come from this. We got to know who's who and what. Peace and safety. As the scriptures say, by peace he destroyed many, speaking of Antiochus. But again, America takes on that same spirit. They're going to use the talking point of peace and safety to take away your rights, surveil everything, and eventually they're going to need to surveil you under your skin. It's going to get so bad. And how do they surveil you under your skin? The micro C-hip.
This is out there. This is being released by CNN. This is being released by NBC, ABC. Protesters are taking to the streets and community hubs nationwide on June 14th in what organizers expect will be the largest single-day anti-President Trump rally since the start of the administration. The widespread movement will run counter to Trump's multi-million-dollar military parade in D.C. Wow, what a coincidence that Trump's throwing a military parade in D.C., which has false flag written all over it. If you haven't seen, there's tanks that are heading into D.C. on June the 14th. At the same time, these protesters decided, we're all going to organize. We're all going to say we're going to these events, these places. We're going to cause this type of chaos. We're going to burn buildings. We're going to burn cars on fire. And somehow the government hasn't intervened to stop it from occurring. What a coincidence, right? What did you think if the government had this knowledge that they would intervene and stop it from actually happening? If they're showing us this map and they're telling us that these are where the events are going to occur, wouldn't these people be arrested ahead of time? The government has the ability to track and monitor all of this stuff. These people aren't organizing offline. And even if they are offline and they're meeting somewhere, they likely have phones in their pockets, so they're likely being listened to. If the government didn't want it to happen, the government would stop it from happening. And they go on to say, No Kings is what the name of this is. It's a nationwide day of defiance. From city blocks to small towns, from courthouse steps to community parks, we're taking action to reject authoritarianism. And of course, the we that's being referenced are obviously paid government officials. This is Black Ops, this is CIA, this is all your government agencies working together. And then what eventually happens is they organize these events, and monkey see, monkey do occurs, because there are real civilians who partake in these events because they see it happening on TV. Then they get motivated to join and find one, and that's what the government wants. And of course, you'll be detained and arrested and considered a terrorist in the United States of America. Even some of the stuff that we've seen, which is so fake and hilarious, like the Waymo cars that were lit on fire. That's one of the more popular videos going around, where you can see the Waymo cars just completely burning in the streets. And the funniest part of all is that it didn't take much for them to light those things on fire, since they're electric vehicles. All they probably did was go over there and dump a gallon of water on the engine, and the thing probably caught fire, because that's what electric vehicles do. But on top of all these things, we need to talk about Palantir. And I talked about Palantir and the kill chain. If you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend you check it out. This is what we need to focus on now, because the alt-right media, these people who are pretending to be conservatives, who are pretending and obviously using mind control to create racial tension and racial division, all of this stuff you hear about illegals, this is all being manufactured by the alt-right media. It's causing racial division. The government's creating false flags and psyops around the country every single day. We hear stories about a young white girl who was on a college campus, who was attacked and killed by an illegal immigrant. Every crime that you're hearing about nationally is all...
Yeah, all of these crimes with the small hats is people yelling, free Palestine, free Palestine, 2 attacks in a row. Okay, so they're going to move based upon these things. But I'm going to come back to that in the next news and prophecy. I want to play a little bit of this one and I'm out.
Back to our breaking news in downtown LA. Arrests now being made on night 2 of the curfew.
That's right. Mike Rogers at the desk now.
Curfew. See that? Now they've brought a curfew.
Mike, this is night 2, but also 20 minutes into night 2 of the
This is the future of what's coming to America.
It is, and they are making those arrests. This is at Temple and Hill near the Grand Park area. The difference between last night and tonight, last night they basically chased everyone through downtown LA to make the arrests. Tonight they were already here. This group was here, and they were kettled. You'll see as Chopper zooms out a little bit, you can see the group of officers that kettled them in that semicircle there, that half circle. They are slowly, I think there's only like 1 or 2 people that are left in that circle that are waiting to be detained. On the left side of your screen, though, I want Oliver to pan down just a touch or tilt down just a little bit.
Everybody sees it. Order out of chaos. Problem, reaction, solution. Okay?
You'll see the people in the green hats. Those are usually representative of people that have legal experience that are trying to give legal advice to the group in the crowd. Those are the last of the people that are being detained as a result of this. And again, they are being detained likely on curfew violations. It is 8:21, the curfew. You're looking live now from a ground shot here. 8:21, curfew going into effect 21 minutes ago. And now the LAPD has moved in and they are making...
So they got an 8 o'clock curfew.
Arrest that other group, as we told you about. We followed them a little bit longer before I moved SkyCal over to this location. They are well out of downtown into the West Lake District now, where they are continuing their march.
All right, Mike, thanks for keeping us up to date. And of course, tactics from law enforcement continuing, right?
Yep, absolutely.
To change.
Yeah, and as we continue to take a live look here in downtown LA, as Mike mentioned, the first arrests, as far as we know, being made tonight after the curfew went into effect at 8 o'clock tonight. Again, this is the second night of the curfews and the 6th night of protesting. We saw the first protest happening on Friday.
On the screen, from the clip that you just saw, these don't really look like people who are running around, who are trying to get away from the police. The second it turned to 8:01, the police were just ready.
And this is why he's going to have to shut down the internet, because he just gets caught. Over the last, since 9/11, I mean, every time this dude do something, there's people on the internet showing you it's fake.
To handcuff people, zip tie them, and arrest them. You even have a woman with red hair smiling as she's getting zip tied for doing absolutely nothing. But this is the new normal, and this is the type of stuff that they're going to continue to push, because this is the same thing we saw back in 2021, right? When they told you to stay indoors, they told you to have a curfew, they told you to stay quarantined. And anyone who didn't listen, as I covered at the time, people who were caught going out to get something to eat past 8 o'clock were arrested, right? Because remember, in a new world order, there will be curfews enforced. It'll be part of the carbon laws that they're going to bring in to help combat climate change. And they're going to use psychological operations, and they're going to use many other things to condition you into a life of curfews. And this is just another story out there, again, about how a city is under a lockdown with a curfew, right? Curfew.
It's 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock. Curfew. All residents of Santa Mira, please clear the street. Curfew is now in effect. Please confine your activity to your home.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. We're interrupting your regularly scheduled programming with breaking news. ABC News has learned that Israel has launched an attack on Iran, likely targeting Iran's nuclear sites. Tensions have been mounting in the region for several days. President Trump told reporters earlier today that it could happen at any time.
There's so much happening. So much happening, man. Oh, man. Jeremiah 30:7, alas for that greatest date, and there is none like it. Daniel 12, AI is a big part of this. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. It's going to be saved, man, out of it. Okay, Revelation 12, we always get that, but let's close this out. Oh, man, so much news, Salakia. I played a lot, but I just wanted to give you these perspectives, man. Revelation 12. And 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And he's accusing us right now. All right, but he's going about it in a very, 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 very sly and crafty way. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, because we're going to be numbered amongst these transgressors. But see, the blood of the Lamb covers us. And by the word of their testimony, the fact that we're telling the truth, we have a holy cause. Okay? And they love not their lives unto the death, man. And that's and that mindset, that's how you overcome the blood of the Lamb, speaking the truth and understanding that this life, ultimately, you're a sacrifice. Okay, we're not being moved. We're not, being wavered by money. The threat of death doesn't, nah, man, we're going to keep going. Because going back to the spirit world is not that bad of a deal looking at the world we live in. Of course, you have your loved ones, you have your children, you have, your wives, whatever, but if the Lord has it to where that's your lot, hey, you just go back and you be raised back up. Understanding death is a big part of overcoming as well. Death ain't the end all be all. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath a short time. Okay? He's definitely coming after Israel, man. So, whew. Just like at the time of the Roman Empire, 70 AD, Luke 19:43, behold, your enemies will build ramparts against your walls and encircle you and close you in on every side, and they will crush you to the ground and your children with you. Your enemies will not leave a single stone in place because you did not accept your opportunity for salvation. So the 2/3 are going to lose out. Okay, the 2/3 are going to pay for their negligence to listen to the prophets. But again, we're here. We're here. Very exciting times, man. I'm amped up. Lord willing, we get to preach the word tomorrow. Throw up prayers, fast, pray, cling to the Lord, be unmovable, man, and know and understand that this is all prophecy. Okay? The righteous shall suffer straight things and hope for the wide. Meanwhile, the wicked suffer straight things and shall not see the wide, man. Shalom.